Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tech. Good to see you guys again, and I'm here with a new quick take series that I call the Redmi Note 8 Pro versus series, and I will be pitting the Redmi Note 8 Pro against a number of the phones I've been testing, and not going too in-depth with the kind of specs in each section here, but just really talking about what is different between these phones, and is the Redmi Note 8 Pro worth it over the other phones I compare it to. So first off, we have the Redmi Note 7 Pro. This is the predecessor to this phone. Now obviously there is a lot that has changed between these phones, and let's quickly run down the specs that have changed. The Redmi Note 8 Pro is a bit heavier now at 199 versus 186 grams. It's also a bit thicker at 8.8 millimeters, but because of that thickness, it's been able to get a 4,500 milliampere battery versus the 4,000 on the Redmi Note 7 Pro. Bezels have also been reduced on this phone, showing you guys here still an LCD panel on the Redmi Note 8 Pro, but the major difference is that the bezels have shrunk around the bottom. You can tell the chin's there, and I do like the way the notch looks on the Redmi Note 8 Pro as well. 6.53-inch display versus 6.3-inch display. Similar pixels per inch. Actually, the Redmi Note 7 Pro is a little bit more pixel dense there, but I think the panel is still pretty similar. You're looking at a little bit of a yellow cast there. I think it has to do with the display contrast, and let's just double check that real quick. And there we go. It's looking a little bit cooler now. And quick overview of performance. It's a MediaTek versus Qualcomm battle here. We have the Helio G90T versus the Snapdragon 675. Now, the major thing I think Xiaomi has to deal with here is brand perception. So MediaTek has not really been seen as a chip brand that is reliable, or that it has had issues in the past. It just is seen as a lower budget offering. Versus Qualcomm, the Snapdragon 675, it's been a good chip. I do like the 730 now that's been released, but I think from the perspective of GPUs, the Adreno 612 is still a great GPU. We'll be testing this Mali G76 MC4 out, but I think the main point here is that despite the fact that this performance may outdo the performance of the previous generation, a lot of people are still going to be having that angst, that worry about using a MediaTek chip. But now, in defense of the Redmi Note 8 Pro, let's not jump to conclusions about the fact that this phone is either heating up or has some problems. Guys, this phone came out 2 days ago, and I know there have been a lot of reviewers out there who are already trying to make a big fuss about this being like overheating and having problems. This phone just came out. It'll get a bunch of software updates. Remember, this is the China ROM version, so I think it's overblown. And so I would not worry about that right now. I played PUBG on this the other night. It had no issues whatsoever. It did get a little warm, but I didn't feel like it got so extreme versus any of the other phones I've tested. So relax, don't worry about it, and we'll obviously be following up with this. If in 1 or 2 months that's still an issue, we may see that the MediaTek choice for the Redmi Note 8 Pro was a mistake. And what has changed in battery life? We have a 4,500 capacity in the Redmi Note 8 Pro, over 4,000 from the previous generation. And quickly sharing my GSAM results. Right now, it has a screen on time of 22 hours, 10 minutes. I think that will definitely go down. And I think, though, this phone, though, will definitely last a day, day and a half, easy of use, and with light use, maybe even 2 days. The Redmi Note 7 Pro was a battery champ on my channel, and I'll be doing more testing on that, so stay tuned very soon. And quick audio test, let's have a listen on both these phones and see if there's any improvements from the previous generation. All right, and honestly, that was very interesting. The Redmi Note 7 Pro sounded a little bit louder, but what has improved greatly is clarity. The clarity of sound on the Redmi Note 8 Pro speaker has improved. They have put a better speaker in this phone, and so I would say it is definitely an upgrade from the previous generation. And just quick talk of cameras, I'll be doing a full camera comparison very soon, but what are the differences? We got the Sony IMX586 48 megapixels f1.8 aperture versus the new ISOCELL GW1 from Samsung. It's a 64 megapixel f1.8 aperture. But this Redmi Note 8 Pro is all about the multiple cameras. They've really stepped up the camera game, and you can see right there from a dual 48 and 5 setup in the previous generation to now a 64, 8, 2, and 2. And one of those is that 8 megapixel ultra wide. You have the 2 megapixel dedicated macro camera, and then you have that depth sensor. So they've just gone all out on the cameras of this phone. And I definitely will be sharing more on Twitter, more kind of like camera comparisons. But I think from the perspective of cameras, and let's not forget to mention the selfie cameras are also improved on the Redmi Note 8 Pro with a new 20 megapixel f2.0 versus 13 megapixel on the previous generation. But now let's get into the heart of the matter. Is it worth the upgrade from the Redmi Note 7 Pro to the Redmi Note 8 Pro? Well, I think from the perspective of design, the perspective of the smaller bezels, and the perspective of the souped up camera modules, battery life, this phone is just doing a lot right. Now, does that discount the fact that the Redmi Note 7 Pro is now being discounted in price, and you can probably get it for under $200 US in a lot of markets? This is still a lot of bang for your buck. And with that Snapdragon 675, it's got a more reliable in terms of brand name chip, and it also has a lot of the bells and whistles that you enjoyed from phones of this previous year, including that Sony IMX586, which I think is still a phenomenal sensor to have, a camera to have in your phone. But that is the question. If you can get this phone for like $150 or for like some crazy deal, then go for the Redmi Note 7 Pro. That's still a lot of phone, and it is still a great deal. But I do think there is enough now, just from design, from the amazing display, from the tiny bezels. This phone feels like a budget OnePlus 7. It's almost like a OnePlus 7 for less than half the price. And yes, it's still LCD. Yes, I would have loved to see AMOLED and all those things, but there's enough here, I think, to like about this phone. And I'm pretty sure once you get your hands on this Redmi Note 8 Pro, you will feel the same way. But hit me up in the comments, what phone would you pick up? A discounted Redmi Note 7 Pro, or would you just go and get the Redmi Note 8 Pro as soon as it comes out? And that's it for this quick take. Stay tuned for my next quick take. Got some exciting phones I'll be comparing to this Redmi Note 8 Pro. That's it for this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up. And if you love the content of Frankie Tech, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon for future updates. So let's keep going here, guys. I'll see you in the next one. And this is where I leave you by saying, this is Frankie Tech signing off. Have a good one.